Planning a move to Idaho? Have you heard about the government-mandated changes coming to residential real estate sales throughout the country from August 17th onwards? Maybe you've heard rumors that sellers will be cutting home prices drastically on August 17th. Yeah, no one believes that, not even the people who've been saying it. Want to find out the truth about the upcoming changes and how they actually will affect you as a buyer and/or seller? I'm Laura Triratnobus with John L. Scott Real Estate Boise. Idaho's where I was born and still live. So let's talk about the changes because they are going to affect you if you buy or if you sell. And let's get to the truth behind these overblown rumors. Thanks to a class action lawsuit filed against the National Association of Realtors and certain large national brokerages, important changes are going into effect on August 17th, 2024. The first is pretty simple. If you're a home buyer and you're smart enough to realize that using an agent will help you to not just look for homes, but also to buy a home with terms that are the most favorable to you rather than favorable to the seller, then you are going to need to sign a representation agreement with an agent before that agent can show you even one home. This will be a big change for both agents and buyers in the majority of the U.S. states, because representation agreements have never been used in most of the states before. Here in Idaho, we have used representation agreements for years, so it's not a big deal to us. But having to sign an agreement before looking at homes is going to be a bit awkward for both agents and buyers, even right here in Idaho, especially if they haven't met before starting the home search process. And of course, nowadays, a lot of people aren't meeting their agents until they actually come to Idaho. So buyers, my advice is to get to know your agent well in advance of looking at homes so that you will feel comfortable having that person represent you. Don't just call some random agent you find on Zillow and ask them to show you that home you saw on the internet. Try to find an agent whose personality and values are in line with your own. Read online reviews on Google and Realtor.com. Talk to people who know them. Take an hour to sit down with that agent, or at least do a Zoom call if you're not in the state, and make sure that you'll be happy spending many hours in their company. And especially make sure you feel confident in that person's ability and willingness to put your interests first in everything they do on your behalf, your interest before theirs. Then you'll be able to sign a representation agreement and feel good about it. Remember, agents will not be legally able to show you even one home until that agreement is signed. So please don't ask an agent to break the rules for you. Breaking those rules could put their livelihood at stake. It wasn't our idea to put these rules into effect, but we have to live with them. A representation agreement is in your best interest, and that's why the judge who ruled on the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors insisted that these agreements become standard in all states under all circumstances. The agreement will spell out exactly how your agent will be paid, so there won't be any questions or conflicts when you're ready to close on your new home. So I hope that makes sense because it's really important. The next big change, and this is the one that all the home prices will go down rumors are coming from. The change is that no MLS or multiple listing service in the entire United States will be able to show the compensation that any particular seller is offering or not offering to a buyer's agent for bringing a successful buyer. That information has until now been freely available knowledge, easily accessed on the MLS by every agent in that particular MLS. But from August 17th onwards, it won't be public knowledge. But don't make the mistake of thinking that means a seller may not compensate a buyer's agent. I think this is where the home prices will go down rumors originated. Both agents and the general public have gotten a hold of the wrong end of the stick, and some have assumed wrongly that because compensation for the buyer's agent can't be specified in the MLS, it somehow means that no compensation can or will be offered by the seller, and that therefore home sellers will reduce the sales prices of their homes since they won't be paying a successful buyer's agent. Well, that is completely wrong. Most buyers are barely able to afford their closing costs given our very high home prices and relatively high interest rates. So how can they afford to pay an agent to represent them? And sellers aren't going to want their own listing agent to be trying to fairly represent both the seller and the potential buyers. I mean, it's like like, would you ask a lawyer to represent both you and the person that you're divorcing? No. That often leads to lawsuits against the seller and their agent. Buyer's agents will still be a very important part of any real estate transaction, and they don't work for free. I mean, do you work for free at your job? Of course you don't. Compensation for buyer's agents will have to come from either the seller or the buyers. Now, looked at correctly, it's always been the buyers who pay the compensation for both agents because it's the buyer who brings the money to purchase the home. So sellers, you really shouldn't be complaining that you're being asked to compensate the agents from the sales proceeds that you receive from the buyers. Okay, you get the money from the buyer, so they're really the one who's paying it. It's just that the compensation won't be in the MLS. It'll have to be worked out behind the scenes between the seller and the buyer by way of their agents. I honestly don't see how this benefits anyone in the residential home purchase process, but it is what we have to live with come August 17th. It's going to be the law. By the way, if this video is helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, because that is helpful to me. Finally, this is so important. Please ditch the notion that there is some kind of standard real estate commission, some kind of standard percentage. There is not. There never has been. Commissions have always been negotiable and will continue to be negotiable. A standard commission would have been a huge violation of federal antitrust laws. Any agent who tells you otherwise needs to have a long talk with their broker. It's entirely possible that a particular brokerage will have a certain fee structure for their own agents to use, but that doesn't mean other brokerages in the area have the same fee structure. And it definitely doesn't mean that those fees are not negotiable. So ask about changing the fee, ask about negotiating. And let's see if these changes to the way we buy and sell homes will actually make any difference in prices, or if all they will do is make real estate transactions even more complicated than they already are. All right, thanks for watching. If you have questions, put them in the comments.